All right, hello everyone, and welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. I'm your host, Dr. Chem. Today we're tackling something that is literally the foundation of everything we do in science, laboratory safety. And look, we're not just talking about checking boxes on some boring compliance form today, absolutely not. What we are building right now is a high-stakes survival toolkit for the lab. Because whether you're a first-year student walking in for the first time or a seasoned researcher, the stakes in there are always incredibly high. So grab your notebooks, lock in, and let's get to work. Okay, here's our roadmap for today's masterclass. We're going to cover 1. The uncompromising lab. 2. Decoding safety symbols. 3. Identifying chemical hazards. 4. Suiting up, required PPE. And finally, 5. Safe chemical waste disposal. Let's jump right in. Section 1. The uncompromising lab. Establishing the stakes. You know, before we even think about touching a beaker or a pipette, we really need to respect the environment we're walking into.
Listen to this quote because it's basically our guiding principle. A laboratory is an uncompromising place where rigorous rules and practice must be followed, otherwise there is a chance of a deadly accident. And guys, that is not an exaggeration. The lab is literally packed with high voltages, extreme temperatures, explosive materials, corrosive vapors, the whole shebang. Following the rules here, it's strictly about survival and, of course, protecting the surrounding environment from any accidental discharge of toxic materials.
To really protect ourselves, we've got to define exactly what enemy we're fighting. According to the American Chemical Society, a hazard is a potential source of danger or harm that can result from working with chemicals, equipment, and instrumentation. Notice that hazards aren't just those, glowing green liquids you see in the movies. A hazard is the equipment itself, the pressurized systems, and your actual instrumentation. It's everywhere.
Moving right along to Section 2, Decoding Safety Symbols, the writing on the wall. Let's imagine we're standing right at the threshold of the lab door. The painted signs and symbols on and around that door, that is your absolute first line of defense.
Laboratory signage relies on a really clear hierarchical system. You're going to see 4 main categories at that door. First up, warning and hazard symbols. These scream at you about physical, biological, or chemical threats inside, like radiation or high voltage. Second, entry and working requirements. This is your literal mandate for what personal protective equipment you have to wear before crossing the threshold. Third are station symbols, showing you where specific tasks must be performed, like an eyewash station. And finally, location symbols, guiding you to crucial lifesavers like a fire blanket or first aid kit. There is zero ambiguity here. You must understand these before you even turn the doorknob.
Section 3, Identifying Chemical Hazards, the subjects of our work. Okay, we've read the signs, so let's step inside the lab and actually meet the materials driving our experiments. In most cases, the immediate or obvious hazard determines exactly how a chemical is classified. We can basically lump hazardous lab chemicals into 4 distinct pillars. Think of them as the big 4: corrosives, flammables, reactives, and toxics. Whenever you handle a new chemical, your very first step, always, is to consult its label and its safety data sheet, or SDS, to figure out exactly which of these pillars it falls under. Now here's the real kicker. Not all threats are immediate, like a giant fire or an explosion. Actually, a lot of chemical hazards are completely invisible and insidious. We're talking severe threats like carcinogens, which are cancer-causing agents. We also deal with hepatotoxins that wreck the liver, nephrotoxins that hit the kidneys, neurotoxins going after your nervous system, and sensitizers that can severely damage your skin or lungs over time. You just have to be constantly vigilant. Section 4, Suiting Up, Required Personal Protective Equipment. We know the hazards, so now we shift from environmental awareness to personal responsibility. It is time to put on the armor. For anyone, staff, students, volunteers, it doesn't matter, working in a lab with chemical, biological, or mechanical hazards, this right here is your absolute minimum baseline armor. You've got to wear a lab coat, protective eyewear, long pants, and closed-toe shoes. And hey, quick side note, your lab coat actually has to be fastened to work. Wearing it open like a cape doesn't give you the barrier protection it was designed for, okay? Let's see how this scales up when we talk about hand protection. It's a super common misconception that throwing on some disposable purple nitrile gloves makes you invincible. Newsflash, they don't. Nitrile provides very limited protection, strictly for incidental exposure. If a chemical splashes on them, you rip them off immediately and wash your hands. For heavy-duty tasks or nasty skin absorption risks, you absolutely must select properly insulated, chemical-resistant heavy-duty gloves, like those yellow ones. And always check the manufacturer's compatibility chart first. The exact same rule applies to your eyes. Scale your protection to the specific task.
Basic safety glasses with side shields, that's the bare minimum. But let's be real, they will not save you from a nasty liquid splash. If you're mixing up a corrosive bath or pouring large volumes where a splash hazard is present, you have to upgrade. That means chemical splash goggles. And this is crucial, slapping a full face shield directly over those glasses or goggles.
Section 5. Safe chemical waste disposal. Completing the life cycle. Look, your experiment is not over just because you finally recorded your data. We have arrived at the conclusion of our physical journey through the lab.
When it comes to managing waste, we have some absolutely uncompromising golden rules. Do collect all chemical waste in sturdy, leak-proof containers, properly labeled, and keep them completely closed unless you're actively pouring waste in. And do not, under any circumstances, dump hazardous chemicals down the sink like it's regular trash. Oh, and leaving them out to evaporate? Absolutely not. Evaporation is strictly prohibited as a waste disposal method. No way.
Let's walk through the proper disposal life cycle, following this great workflow from BenchChem. You start by generating the waste. Then you identify it. Is it a solvent, an acid, a solid? Based on that, grab a compatible container, attach a hazardous waste label, and place it in your satellite accumulation area. Make sure it's sitting in a secondary containment tray just to catch any sneaky leaks. Once that container is full, or you hit the maximum accumulation time, you submit a pickup request to your Environmental Health and Safety Department, and they safely take it off your hands.
Speaking of accumulation limits, 55 gallons. Burn that number into your brain. To put that into perspective, that's a massive, heavy drum, and it's the absolute maximum limit of standard hazardous waste you are legally allowed to accumulate in your satellite accumulation area. And if you're dealing with acutely hazardous waste, that limit drops like a rock to just one single quart. You have to monitor your waste volumes meticulously.
But wait, what happens when you use up all the chemical and you're just left with the bottle? Well, an empty container isn't always truly empty. If that bottle previously held acutely hazardous waste, you cannot just toss it in the regular trash. It requires a highly specialized decontamination process.
For those dangerously acutely hazardous containers, we follow the strict triple rinse rule. 3 easy steps. Step 1, you completely triple rinse the container with a suitable solvent. Step 2, you cannot just dump that rinse liquid, you must collect that rinsate itself as hazardous waste. Step 3, only after it is totally rinsed do you deface the original chemical label, remove the cap, and dispose of the physical container based on your institution's guidelines. This ensures zero fugitive chemical releases into the environment.
I want to wrap up this explainer with a question for you to chew on before your next lab session. Your experiment was a massive success, but if your waste threatens the environment or your lack of PPE put your colleagues at risk, did you really practice good science? True scientific excellence requires rigorous respect for safety, from the moment you read the door symbols all the way down to the final triple rinse. Thank you so much for joining this masterclass. Stay vigilant and stay safe out there in the uncompromising lab.